My name is Chloe. I'm 26 years old, and my world is painted in shades of gray. I live in Portland, Oregon, a city of constant rain and fleeting sunlight. I'm a muralist. I bring color to other people's walls, painting vibrant flowers on cafes and bold signs for little shops. But the color never seems to stick to my own life. The work is hard. The pay barely enough to keep the damp Portland chill out of my tiny studio apartment. It's a clean room, but it's just that, a room. One mattress on the floor, a wobbly wooden chair, and a single table that serves as my desk, my canvas stretcher, and my dining table. I have no family. A car accident took my parents when I was a teenager. No brothers, no sisters. The silence in my apartment is a constant companion. I live on instant noodles and cheap bread. I tell myself it's a minimalist lifestyle, but it's just poverty. Some nights, the hunger is a dull ache I try to ignore. Some nights, the loneliness is a sharp pain that brings quiet tears. But every morning, I wake up, pick up my brushes, and go back to work. That's my rhythm. Paint, sleep, survive, repeat. One particularly cold, rainy Tuesday, I was finishing a mural on the side of a small, steamy coffee shop called The Daily Grind. The rain had soaked through my thin jacket and my fingers were numb. I was just packing up my brushes when an older man stepped inside. He had a kind, weathered face, silver hair, and wore a classic tweed overcoat. He moved with a slow, deliberate grace, probably in his late 60s. He chose a small table by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. Then his eyes found me. I instinctively looked away, feeling self-conscious in my paint-splattered damp clothes. When I was done, I started cleaning up, my hands fumbling with the cold. The man stood up and walked over. He had a soft, gentle smile that reached his eyes. "You look tired," he said. His voice was calm, like a quiet river. I managed a weak smile. "It's just been a long day." He nodded, his gaze full of an understanding I couldn't place. "You're a very talented artist. Your work brings warmth to this gray street." He then simply turned and left the cafe. The next day, I was working on a new project nearby. The same man walked past. He saw me, and that same kind smile appeared. I smiled back, a genuine, small smile this time. A little while later, he came out of the cafe holding a steaming paper cup. "It's an herbal tea," he said, offering it to me, "to warm your hands." I was stunned. "Oh, you don't have to." "I insist," he said gently. I thanked him, and he just nodded and walked away. The tea was warm and sweet, with a hint of cinnamon. It felt strange. No one had ever shown me such a simple, unprompted kindness before. He started coming by every day. His name was Arthur. He never overstayed his welcome. He'd bring me a warm tea, sometimes a sandwich. "An artist needs fuel," he'd say with a twinkle in his eye. He never asked invasive questions or made me feel uncomfortable. We talked about the weather, the flowers he grew in his small garden, and the books he loved to read. I found myself waiting for him. My eyes would drift to the corner he always turned, my heart giving a little flutter when he appeared. It was a warmth I hadn't felt in years. He was much older, of course, with the gentle demeanor of a grandfather I never had. But it was his respect, his quiet consistency that began to chip away at the wall I had built around myself. One afternoon, he found me sitting on a park bench, sketching. He sat down, a little more serious than usual. "Chloe," he began, his voice soft, "I hope this isn't too forward, but I've come to care about your well-being." My hand stilled over my sketchbook. I know you're alone, he continued. I know you struggle. Life has not been gentle with you. I stared at the ground, my cheeks burning. I want to help you, he said. I finally looked up. Why? My voice was barely a whisper. He smiled that familiar, kind smile. Because kindness shouldn't be a rare commodity, and because in your quiet strength, I see something truly special. He stood up. Please just think about it. And he left. That night, in my cold, small room, his words echoed. I want to help you. I care. What did that even mean? The next day, he came with a sealed envelope. Please read this when you're alone, he said. Take your time to think. There is no pressure. My heart hammered against my ribs. I held the letter all day, too terrified to open it. That night, under the dim light of my single bulb, I finally did. The handwriting was neat, elegant. He wrote that he wanted to offer me a life without struggle. He could pay for my apartment, help me buy better supplies, and give me the security to pursue my art without the constant fear of starvation. He promised he would ask for nothing in return that I wasn't willing to give. But there was a condition. He was lonely too. He wanted a companion, a partner to share the quiet days with. He was proposing marriage. The letter slipped from my shaking hands. Marriage? To a man I barely knew? Was this a transaction? A contract? I didn't sleep at all. Was this a lifeline or a trap? I thought of his gentle eyes, the warmth of the tea, the respect in his voice. He had never been anything but a perfect gentleman. But marriage? Was this kindness or something else? The next day, I didn't go to work. I paced my room until the floorboards creaked. That afternoon, I saw him standing across the street from the cafe, waiting patiently in the rain, his tweed coat damp. His smile when he saw me was as gentle as ever. I walked over to him, clutching the letter. I read it, I said, my voice trembling. He just waited, his eyes full of patience. I took a deep breath, the cold air filling my lungs. Okay, I whispered. I will marry you. There was no grand celebration, just a quiet moment between two lonely souls in the rain. He told me we could have a small, simple ceremony at the city hall next month. A paper, a promise, and the new beginning. That night, I lay awake, the rain tapping against my window. Did I just sell my freedom? Or did I just save my life? A single thought kept repeating in my mind. Time will tell. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to feel like I'm not just speaking into the void. Knowing someone is out there listening to my story, it gives me strength. Please let me know in the comments where you're listening from. It would mean the world to me. The wedding day was overcast. I wore a simple white dress I had found at a thrift store. I washed and ironed it myself. Arthur was waiting for me at the city hall, wearing a simple dark suit and holding a small bouquet of wildflowers from his garden. There were only 2 witnesses, old friends of his. The ceremony was brief, quiet, and deeply surreal. His home was a small, sturdy cottage on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by a lush, slightly wild garden. It smelled of old books, cedar wood, and baking bread. It was the warmest, safest place I had ever been. This is your home now too, Chloe, he said. And for the first time, the idea of home didn't feel like a hollow word. He gave me my own room. He never once made me feel pressured or obligated. He was patient, so incredibly patient. The first few weeks, we were like quiet roommates. He'd make tea in the morning, I'd help with the cooking. He'd work in his garden, and I'd watch him from the window, this kind, gentle man who had plucked me from a life of despair. He brought me a large box one day. It was filled with professional-grade canvases, paints, and brushes. A home needs art, was all he said. We started talking more. He told me about his life as the owner of a beloved old bookstore that he had since sold. He had a wife, long ago, who had passed from an illness. He had lived alone for 20 years. Loneliness is a cold, quiet room, he told me one evening. I saw you in your own cold, quiet room, and I just wanted to open a window for you. His kindness was a gentle sunrise, slowly warming the frozen parts of my heart. I started to paint again, not for money, but for joy. I painted his garden, the way the light hit his silver hair, the steam rising from our morning teacups. One evening, after dinner, he said, "I'm so glad you're here, Chloe." I looked at him, and I felt a warmth spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the fireplace. "Me too, Arthur," I whispered.
The turning point came when I overheard two women at the local market. "That's her," one whispered, "the young artist who married old Mr. Gable for his money." The words were like a physical blow. I fled home, shame burning in my gut. Arthur found me crying in the garden. He listened, then gently took my hand. "Their words are meaningless," he said, his voice firm. "They see a transaction. I see the wonderful, strong, kind woman I've come to admire more than anyone. I know who you are." That night, I realized he had given me more than security. He had given me a sense of self-worth. A few weeks later, the seasons began to turn. We were sitting by the fire, reading in comfortable silence. He looked up at me, his eyes soft in the firelight. "Are you happy, Chloe?" I put my book down. I looked at this man who had asked for nothing and given me everything. "Arthur," I said, my voice clear and steady, "I may have married you for a safe place to live, but I'm staying because I don't ever want to live without you." He gently touched my cheek. I leaned in and our lips met for the first time. It was a kiss that wasn't born of passion or romance, but of deep, profound gratitude and a slow blooming, quiet love. It was gentle, warm, and it felt like coming home. He became sick with the flu a month later. I cared for him, making him soup, reading to him, and just sitting by his side. In my fear of losing him, I finally understood the depth of my feelings. When he was better, I held his hand and whispered, "I love you, Arthur." Tears welled in his kind eyes. "And I love you, my dear Chloe." Our love wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was a garden we tended to every day with patience and care. The whispers of the market never fully stopped, but they no longer bothered me. I had my own story, and it was a true one. One afternoon, sitting on the bench in our garden, he looked at me and said, "You brought color back into my life, Chloe." I smiled and squeezed his hand. "No, Arthur," I said, "you saved me from the gray." He smiled back, his eyes full of love. He said, "Then I suppose we saved each other." If our story of quiet love and second chances touched your heart, please show your support by liking this video and sharing it with someone who might need a little hope. Subscribe for more stories that remind us that kindness is the most beautiful color of all.